Hello, my name's Justin Clay, and I'm reading pages 41 through 50. Although I'm going to start on page 40 just because the paragraph that I have starts there. Why does this data make more sense to me/us, you ask? If all these patterns of knowledge and experience are here and there and are now observable more easily, shared and understandable, or if not, now increasingly more accessible to that understanding or achieving, then why am I or we still confused about it? This is a part of learning. March 23rd, 2024. Imagine buying a book or a video game and right after you started it, you were able to instantly reach the end and finish it. Would that be enjoyable? Compressing the entire story and emotional journey one would hope to experience, what would you learn/retain from that? Or if you watched only the first episode of a series and then the last episode, could you assume what happened in between? I think that is why it is important that we must experience all of reality and beyond as funk so that we can know and understand what funk is/was. The feeling that you are currently experiencing and others are understanding to be our parts confusion, understanding, and more. And all of your instinctual feelings are the results of your individual internal selfishness, gathered, challenged, and expanded from our nurturing and nurturing external selfishness. You, your, our, and inner and outer influences and beyond. It is important to be selfish to a manageable degree in order for you, our individual branches of time, experience, understanding, and data collection to exist and continue attempting to exist. Each of our selfishness guides us in some ways, at some times distracts us from other selfishness, while also being influenced by and sometimes leading us to selfishness. And it is when those points meet that two or more selfish identities are able to connect and expand off of each other or not. Consider two parallel lines that never meet, and their selfish natures to keep expanding in both directions and continue expanding and taking up space they each exist in, and as they get longer and longer, they become larger parallel lines. But they are still just two similar parallel lines that never touch or meet, or perhaps even know each other's existence. Now, these lines are currently parallel, but expanding selflessly inside and out of themselves in every direction, points and space eventually crossing each other outside and inside of their selfish paths. Their selfish and selfless interactions paint a much larger picture than just two lines that never met. Now, picture these parallel lines as individual people. They can, with choice or not, move forwards, backwards, sideways, diagonally, etc., communicate with each other or not, know of each other or not, and their points of existence are able to interact at find infinite amounts of points across time and space. Joshua Richards. You kind of got a Leibniz thing going there. Everything to him was mammons that could be broken down from one ultimate monad to many sub-specific monads. My greatest frustration with philosophy has been that each thinker has their own acron to push. Thales with water, Anaximander with infinity, Anaximenes with air, Plato with forms, all the way to logic choppers we have today. There's a certain amount of use in the tactic, and something as vague and fun as your notion is a big step up from the ancients. What I'm curious about is if this arrives at an application other ideas have not yet. I really love the topic, but philosophy is so very often goes nowhere and produces little. Uh, Saturday, January 20th. Enjoy these links. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 links. Sean Penabler. Thank you for the introductions. All of the ideas that these philosophers proposed were significant for their time and seemingly now collectively attribute into what I am gathering and proposing. And the fact that you see those patterns and are able to recognize these connections means that this is becoming more and more understandable to everything inside and outside of their theories and mine. All of what you shared had to be thought of, exist, and discussed to lead up to these moments of construction creation. Our points within infinity, and we were perhaps able to reach these points as I philosophize. The funk is able to connect itself across time and space and understand what it wants or needs, and then expands with that information, just as we are able to Google these philosophers and learn and expand from them within seconds of our current reality. The observable patterns / assumptions of philosophy, often going nowhere, are both accurate and inaccurate. Let's say a philosophical statement is a seed. That seed, after being planted into the minds of others, grows into something that produces another seed. Some seeds eventually stop growing and others die out. But those that live spread roots and branches out in every direction within their universal / funk reach of us, and everything forever leading to the next event until given enough time. The collective growth potentially somehow loops back around through / to itself by the connections we currently and seemingly think of as thought, experience, and existence. I propose the ideas we are experiencing, thinking, and dreaming are different accessible collections of beyond monadic points, and each of us are planting and transferring what was once known as incalculable and inconceivably experienced figurative data, but with the help of natural and technological evolution, which I believe has further connected to us and us into it. Life, computers, tech, algorithms, numerical data, and reality itself are influencing and teaching us this information or saving it for review. Philosophy sometimes seemingly goes nowhere because each branch of it is not yet the answer, but still plays a significant role leading up to reaching closer sequential questions and answers, and it is important to prove and / or defeat each proposal more and more correct or incorrect until we find the theoretical connections to everything and the next iterations of advancement or seed from the branches to the previous tree. I propose that our current and often past human natures to dismiss potential further learning because of the current information being proposed or planted is at that point too much or too little to understand and our selfish dismissals are what slows us down the most as thinkers and doers. But imagine if I were able to transfer to you all the information in this book, or a pheromone extraction, and you were able to quickly or instantly understand it and personally connect to it both selfishly and selflessly to absolutely 100% know what I am relaying to you. You and we would be much less dismissive of the fact and falsity within perceived reality, because we could instantly see the whole idea and all the ideas behind them. I believe we are reaching closer to being able to do that with thought and consciousness using science, technology, and natural evolution. And I postulate internal dialogue, hypnagogia, and the pineal gland to have much to do with it, as it is observably mostly those that have the closer connection to the practice of accessing that gland and these things of consciousness, unconsciousness, and preconsciousness. Creativity that are statistically more so advancing ideas and greatly influencing our past, presents, and futures. Joshua Richards. I think we're a lot closer to that. The most conscious of us pick up on micro expressions. Our cognitive faculties, though amazing, aren't chief. We are emotional animals more than rational ones. Our needs and feelings rarely take the backseat to what the lofty might call pure reason. I give up on that type of thinking a long time ago. I think the aim of philosophy is to just get further away from bad ideas. And if that doesn't push towards good ones, at least we are discarding what isn't useful. Sean Penabler. Exactly. You are understanding what I and others within and / or influenced by these ideas and / or studies have been experiencing and expressing. And our asymptotes of data and understanding are moving closer and closer to points we and or they may or may never reach. Saturday, December 7th, 2019. The more data / history / experience that we create and save, the more likely and available further data / history experience we will advance from our creations, whether a success or failure. Again, for example, say a seed has been planted. The planting of that seed is the starting point of that branch of data / history experience. But there's still a whole archive of data / history experience preceding the seed that led to the point of its planting and the creation of the seed. But now that it has been planted, let's say the seed grows into an orange tree, and let's also say this was a mutation and is officially the first orange tree ever. It is nurtured by nature, and it grows and collects and stores more and more data / history experience. Funk influence, soul, and everything around it is coexisting with that data, and etc. Being created to exist, but the current information and experience of nature doesn't know how to be or interact with an orange tree because there has never been one before, or that eventually the seed or sapling will even be a tree unless it somehow does. So the environment and reality acknowledges the seed or sapling selflessly and continues to exist selfishly, continuously growing further and closer as information and experience over time with the seed as it becomes an orange tree, and soon the selfish / selfless nature sees that it can selflessly and selfishly connect closer to the orange tree as the environment eventually discovers it can now decompose / digest the oranges, and debris the orange tree is both selfishly and selflessly providing. And these two are more once single collective points and beings that exist alongside each other, having previously never existed / influenced / interacted with each other, are now very much closer to each other congruously. And when you apply that logic to the funk, it is everything harmoniously, discordantly, selfishly, and selflessly connecting, reacting, and expanding within and without each other and everything. And even before the oranges could provide selflessly, the tree itself provided shelter, homes for birds, insects, bacteria, etc., gave oxygen to the environment, stabilized the soils, etc. It is now morally wrong for a toucan to eat these oranges. What's good for the toucan is seemingly a calamity for the orange tree, but they both still provide in some way from each other. The toucan will assist in spreading the influential seeds of the orange tree, and when the toucan itself eventually dies, is eaten, decomposed, and returns to the earth or the fabrics of space and time, and selflessly assist in further expansion of those and other expanding branches of life, attribute more to the selfless, and same with the tree, the orange, and everything before and after these objects of matter and influence. Selfishly and selflessly, we provide for the funk that selfishly and selflessly provides for us. March 25th, 2024. So hopefully we can comprehend the importance of understanding how, why, and when to be selfish or selfless. But we must be selfish to keep ourselves alive and or continue existing. And we must also be selfless to coexist and expand with others / everything / funk. Seeds, babies, and beginners are inherently selfish until they grow and / or prosper enough to selflessly provide for more than themselves. And this cycle repeats seemingly ad infinitum. If you share or give but expect the receiver of that gift to become subservient to your command, then that was / is not an action of selflessness or charity, as you were selfishly paying them for a service you expect that they may possibly provide for you or not. Selflessness is such that you are naturally share your prosperity and success with the funk around you, and are thankful to / for the funk within and beyond ourselves / everything for supplying us the opportunity to share our wealth, time, thoughts, presence, etc. Think of a piece of art or music that you enjoy. What is it you like about it? Why does this art or song resonate with you? Why do some things resonate more or less with us and others? Is it a choice or feeling? It's all that and more. Say you are experiencing an event of art or music, and something stands out in a more negatively resonating than positive way. A personal feeling of denial. You, to your understanding, did not in that moment enjoy that action or point of experience, and your reaction is to perhaps acknowledge and experience it as infrequently as you are possibly able to, the point of avoiding it or hating it so much you feel the need to express to others your discomfort and negative feelings, and that perhaps they too should avoid it. But to someone or something else that is perhaps within a closer optimistic process of yes, and Yes, and if this, then what? Then that temporary discomfort does not deter them from learning more about it. And the yes and says, why did this resonate negatively with my positive slash neutral? And how can I expand off of that experience together with our environment so that others are able to perhaps resonate closer to what they in the past have been dismissing due to personal negative experience? It is optimistically much more positive to think, wow, that was weird. Why is that so weird to me? Than, wow, that is fucking weird and I don't like it, so it should stop and never happen again, and everyone who enjoys it is an idiot. While also still subjective and relative to the experiences. April 21st, 2022. Both and all of these previous example sentences with further or different context become something else entirely than what they may be, have been, or will become. And each of us has the ability to experience our perspective of the greater perspectives, whether group or higher metaphysical echelon. We morph the inputs of our outputs and input that output into each other beyond and between yes and no, and all or none, and become the greater output of the input as it output slash inputs forever. I'm not saying to then only dismiss every negative experience and try to rid of them entirely. If someone feels a way, then that is their way, and you can't change that exact moment of initial feeling. But everyone willing can potentially work together and reach out to the next point of resonation for someone and something else. It just takes a lot of patience and understanding to do so. Unfortunately, that is something that is much harder for those on the side of denial or negation to do. And that's why it is important for those who are able to say yes and to apply patience and empathy and assist those who cannot or are unable. And there are some who functionally cannot and will not ever be able to accept things as closely as others are, and that is okay, because we can choose to help each other. We can use that past information slash experience or discord to figure it out. There will always be peace within chaos, and vice versa, vice voca verum, yin and yang. And as I've said before, with effort and time, yin and yang are able to do seemingly reach into each other and overlap and expand more than both ways in all directions. March 26, 2024. These past couple paragraphs refer more to an experience in questioning negative or hateful feelings towards simple things, like if you really didn't like a certain song, television show, the art at the museum, your neighbor's dog coming into your yard, or muffins, etc. There are some things that are indeed much worse and are entirely justifiable in holding negative feelings against, like genocide, racism, sexism, etc. Trans people disliking transphobes is entirely different than a transphobe disliking trans people. The amount of time and energy we choose to work things out together and or change is entirely up to each individual. April 21st, 2022. Open the Spotify link. An intro to the ontological dissection and explanation of the funk. This came on my shuffle and I re-listened to the entire thing, not having heard it in a while. I have been shuffling old songs, listening to moments I had created in the past. The following tracks are collection, tomorrow, pleased and thank you'd, Harold, what are Harold and the mistakes, Harold, contact, best wishes, and I am currently listening to Entelechy, the synchronicities of each and how by chance they relate to current events make me smile. It's odd yet exciting to experience these moments in time now existing in the future from before and after those past moments to the of these present future moments, and the further understanding what I was describing, what everything would become, and how it was from those moments that this moment has come to exist. And again, I feel that funk feeling, and it connects with me to connect with you to keep going. Influence you, our existences, by being together as part of that fusion or a simulation of future simulation. Continue extending and expanding our funk souls. There could be millions of people that will potentially agree with what I am saying because they are able to closer recognize the patterns of what makes improvisational game or life/reality better. And there will be millions of others who do not because they cannot yet or perhaps will never see the patterns of what makes game or life/reality more relevant and enjoyable, because every individual has their own tastes, desires, wants, needs, perspectives, etc. Their experiences will always be different, sometimes negating, contrasting, and even complementing. But this is still important that everyone plays and interacts and attempts to grow with those who are able to efficiently yes and, unless proven otherwise. If unable, that doesn't make things worse, just different, but still very significant. It seems that a desire to be more significant affects us as thinkers and doers because we are able to witness subjectively more and more progressively significant events as they happen / have happened, and we are selfishly envious of those theoretically more achievable increasing significances, and we over time began to ignore and / or even take advantage of our own to each other's discomforts achieve those significances rather than comfort them and provide for greater funk significance so it can also provide for you / us. Teamwork makes the dream work. If a moment of greater significance happens and then does not over time interact with lesser or other significances to help assist them, then they will distrust each other and slow down the process of funk expansion. The subjective lesser or other significance will envy, hate, or dismiss the greater significance, and the greater significance will look down on the lesser, and they will fight and take advantage of each other until further significance is made through an unfortunate progression of denials. Eventually, reach unity in some variation or compromise, as things will naturally progress as they always do. But it is with larger and larger groups of the funk begin to attempt to yes and each other that there is more progressive progress together as a whole and at much faster rate. For current fictitious example, imagine the possibilities if we could communicate and work together with animals, or be able to collaborate with our elements like Aang or Korra of the Avatar series. Even though there would still exist their own sets of problems in these realities. August 15th, 2024. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. April 21st, 2022. Or like being a sim within a simulation, able to interact with other simulators within this or greater beyond inner and outer simulations of the collective experience, or whatever funk exists within and without. March 27th, 2024. We are in some ways able to indirectly/directly communicate with these things and influence each other, but imagine being able to directly converse with God/funk and how significantly that would immediately alter/affect everything. If things you used or interacted with every day could talk to you, like the organs constructing your body, the relationships, responsibilities, power, dynamics, etc., would become significantly different. You would need to work together or there would be dire consequences. Imagine upsetting your heart or making your stomach angry at you. What I have witnessed is that the past denials, non-sessions, eventually are provided for less and less, and eventually expand with yes and omissions, or are in time moved on from and left out of variables for advancement. In advancement learning, if a digit sequence of data is not able to reach the next point, then it is mathematically/successfully less than all the generations that are now advancing beyond it. And more so, over time becomes mostly past information, whereas yes and becomes faster future information at a constant. The yes ands will learn to build bridges and cross gaps and give denials the option to use those bridges they construct, but the denials seemingly will never cross all the bridges and paths unless carried over by the yes and. Also, in that standing of ground and subjective selfishness of being unmoving, those existing in denial build up walls and fortresses and establish themselves in an effort to be above or greater than the yes and they will inevitably fight the yes and as it is their nature, and in result a substantial amount of the yes and will fight back in both positive and negative ways, because it was also once in their nature from the data they have advanced from to deny a denial through yes anding. It is foretold by patterns of the funk that we and all will be disagreed with just for doing and existing, but that doesn't mean you still should not attempt to do or exist. We each make our own individual practical decisions based upon the information/influences we have received and interpreted, and it is significantly important to reach each and every next decision and outcome that our interpretation/influences reveals and leads us to, right and/or wrong. Hand in hand, round and round, seemingly forever and always. March 29th, 2024. Through every caravanial moment, until more information and data are collected to investigate/observe everything and understand further. March 29th, 2024. These denials, yes ands are at some points in time one and the same. Omissions and non-missions existing as quimissions until resulting as one or the other or both all. If you were creating a system of advanced learning attempting to teach a program to walk, each attempt would be a yes and omission until it failed, resulting in a denial nomission. These attempts would continue with each iteration / generation until the program achieved the end result through an absolute omission of all previous failed attempts to be once omissions, yes ands, then nomissions, denials, and now coimissions. Omissions, nomissions, and coimissions first defined on page 57. Imagine people having a discussion, and in that discussion one of these persons mumbles something and the group is unable to register what was actually said. Yes and will ask the mumbler, kindly or not, however they selfishly act within this moment or group selflessness, to repeat what they said so that they or others can translate properly for further use to respond to. A denial, disguised as a yes and, will also make actions in their selfishness and choose to nod their head and or laugh, pretending they had received what was transmitted, and will have questionably less significant impact on this selfless connection of group discussion. Either the denier does/doesn't desire enough to want to receive what was transmitted, or they are unable or currently yet don't know how. The mumbler can also reattempt to confirm what they said, yes and, or they can deny and say something else or withhold what they said. Whatever individual selfish choice that the selfless, selfish group have to again attempt to interpret. April 21st, 2022, or do whatever their/our sim/avatar will eventually do. The song Sweep plays which signifies we should move on to the next thing, and ends as I do. Next track, Teacha. Later, as chance would have it, ends and segment 2 of the April Fool begins. Go to page 263 or back again. Hours later, Fight or Flight begins playing when I return to the edit. Saturday, December 7th, continued. You can see the patterns we create and have created for us/everything, and how we attribute all past and additional created and relative existences to ourselves, our homes, appearances, communities around us, etc. Further, we are able to make judgments and decisions gathered from forms of random chance number generated moments, whether we know how to or not. The past that we understand to know so far did not and does not have a clear understanding of our future/present, but is/was able to make possible predictions based on the information and observations of past present. Aristotle never used or experienced an iPad unless in some form of thought, dream, guess, or influence, and he probably never mentioned anything about iPads. But now iPads are being mentioned and are relevant to us and our learning experience, and we are advancing with them and from them more easily, just like we have with Aristotle. March 9th, 2023. In the present time, you can use AI to show Aristotle using an iPad, and not just a drawing, but a photorealistic photo or video, and these abilities will continue increasing and expanding until they can't, won't, or shouldn't. The future infinitely expands from / with the past / present. March 31st, 2024. In only 1 year since I left that last edit, these programs have become even more convincing, easier to use, and a lot more powerful. It's both exciting and frightening to imagine what technology will be able to do and how it will be used in another year, or 10 years, 50, etc. There is a phrase that you could probably Google right now if you were not aware of it that says, history has a way of repeating itself, which is us highlighting and learning and / or not learning from the patterns of the funk. And as you apply that information to the present, future, and somehow back to the past, the noticeably more so it becomes. March 31st, 2024. Link, historic references. Perhaps past philosophers like Socrates, Thales, Libyans, or Whitehead, etc., never knew exactly of the funk, but somehow the way they were able to access information caused them to help kickstart further learning from what was learned, and from them and more. We are now discussing everything as they and the funk were able to connect using what we know at the time of our existences, and that's perhaps why Whitehead, Descartes, Baudrillard, Chomsky, and every other notable name, and you and I know what we know because of the funk, somehow provides everything to us. March 31st, 2024. Entelechie. And we are able to provide back. March 31st, 2024. Zoroastry, page 89, March 9th, 2023. Though, as I learn more and more about these philosophers, it really showcases that they were all attempting to describe the funk that they understood and were able to understand at their points of space-time. April 21st, 2022. Hammer down plays followed by what do or don't you, and segment 2 of Listen. Saturday, December 7th, 2019 continued. I'd like to talk about what made me finally sit down and write this all out after years of figuring out how to do so. In a state of deep meditation, personally the deepest state I had ever reached, I was able to relax my entire body, something I had before never been able to do. I felt my body becoming both weightless and connected to the pull of gravity, and for the first time I was able to look deeper into the nothing. My eyes were closed, but it felt as if they were open. It became the between, and in that between I began to see some of the most intricate and detailed illusions I have ever been able to witness. Visions and patterns I will never be able to describe or share unless you were able to access my memories. I could see my consciousness traveling through entire dimensions. Everything across my entire life leading up to that moment began to show me how they were connected and began to make more and more sense, and the music I was meditating to and the environment around myself began to connect to me. The word pairability came to mind across all these thoughts and connections, and when I opened my eyes, the information coming from my laptop computer and the sounds and senses I was experiencing began to deeply process each other. I began to think deeper and more easily reach the next advancement in thought. Every time I would close my eyes to return to meditate, I more actively began putting together all these thoughts that were now connecting closer. And when I would reach a point of questioning or arrive at a crossroads of thought or understanding, I would hear a lyric or transition of a song that just happened to respond or answer, almost like a soundtrack accompaniment, and it would assist me to a solution or more answers and questions. When I would hit deeper thoughts or be on a roll, the music would heighten, or when approaching another subject of thought, the song would change. Everything was by some extreme chance accenting each other. I would open my eyes in thought, and the first thing I saw on my computer screen, continuously by coincidence, would be the answer I needed, or lead to the next connection, making perfect sense and fitting into these patterns I have been attempting to describe to you, and would instantly lead me to the next profound thought and or the next connection. For almost the entire night, I witnessed and experienced the coincidental pattern after pattern, leading me to deeper and deeper understanding of the connections. I understand how all of these events can be viewed as reach or overanalysis, and it isn't. I have increasingly over time witnessed coincidental pattern after pattern, almost too much to seem like coincidence. I recorded each song that happened during this time, and the playlist is as follows, interpreted as you will. Keep in mind that this playlist was on shuffle and contains 11,000 songs to choose from. March 9th, 2023. Carl Jung described these moments as synchronicities, and this was hours full of back-to-back synchronicity. Honestly, one of the most surreal events of my life. It showed me that I would construct this treatise and make this journey, and at times would face both praise and backlash for doing so. But that it was always going to be so, and to not be afraid. And that even if I, at that point or any point, chose not to and seek a different path, eventually myself or someone else would. April 1st, 2024. Some would call this an enlightening or a kundalini awakening or an alchemical process slash change slash journey, and some would call it a hallucination or some form of mental thing. I still don't have the correct words or explanation to quite describe it. I understand that it had to be my own brain imagination providing the experience to me, but it very much felt to be coming from beyond me. I wish I could recount to you the exact scene of events, but it told me that I would forget and only remember the happenings of and write about them and to seek more information. I don't meditate in this form as much anymore, except for when seeking direction, as eventually my intuition and or funk expressed to me to spend my time doing other things like writing, editing, this, and seeking further knowledge, experience, and to be present. But I continued to chase that state for a while and was only able to get close a few times. That pure hypnagogic-like state of transcendence. It genuinely was like connecting to the funk slash being funk, though I still experience slash witness synchronicities just about every day, whether they may be my own or others. April 21st, 2022. I am still within the earlier mentioned experience of segment 2 of Listen. And technically so are you. We are right now and beyond in a form of. It feels now as it felt then, and possibly for you currently now within that awareness of funk synchronicity. March 9th, 2023. This time I am sitting in silence as I edit, reflecting on these experiences. Again, feeling the similar feelings and experiences, the type of silence you would hear if you were experiencing any segment of listen or beyond an absence of music. I resume the playlist in a shuffle and finding it begins. April 18th, 2022. The Parability playlist. These were songs that played during that night of meditation, connection, synchronicity. Link to Spotify playlist. What Would I Want? Sky, Animal Collective. Round and Round, Ariel Pink. Everyone's a Winner, Ty Segall. America, Simon and Garfunkel. Do It Again, Steely Dan. Lily Toro y Moi. At Night in Dreams, White Denim. Leaf House, Animal Collective. Thank You, Fallatime Be Myself Again, Sly and the Family Stone. Dirty Work, Steely Dan. That's My Way, Led Zeppelin. Kaleidoscope, Bad, Bad, Not Good. Only Shallow, My Bloody Valentine. Oh Sweet Nothin', The Velvet Underground. Paranoid Android, Radiohead. Uninvisible, Medaski, Martin and Wood. Sense, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Peaches and Regalia, Frank Zappa. If You Want Me to Stay, Sly and the Family Stone. Cut Your Hair, Pavement. Finger Bib, Aphex Twin. I Saw the Light, Todd Rundgren. Low Boob Oscillator, Stereo Lab. Okay. So I went a little into page 51 just to finish that list. So I'm not really sure like exactly what I'm reading here, like, but you know, it's is this like a paper, I'm wondering, or just like a you know, in my head I'm always trying to think of what the story is. So like the first part of it really was a lot kind of was like a lot of philosophy sort of. It was hard for me to read just personally because I'm really dyslexic. So like words like selfish and selfless repeated like very close to each other, it's easy for me to mix up just because of me. But yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of ideas that I really relate to in this, like music kind of being a, you know, communication, like dialect of God, or the funk, I guess is what it's being called here. And then I appreciated, like at the end of my segment, the story about the playlist, because that kind of helped me understand like where everything was coming from and sort of brought it down to a human relatable level. So that's my thoughts, and interesting. Thanks.